you have this Ukrainian interference in our election as reported by Politico. And I look at that and I go, wow, the Ukrainian government sent incriminating evidence to the Democrats. Crazy story. Then they claim
But it was true.
And indeed. And the issue is, why wasn't that a scandal? That the Ukrainians were interfering in the election.
Tim Pool goes back and forth with Bill Maher in a heated exchange about election integrity, political bias, Russian interference, and the media's double standards. Tim Pool doesn't hold back, pushing back hard on Bill Maher's attempts to dismiss Democratic hypocrisy and defending himself against accusations tied to Russian narratives. Tim Pool highlights the unequal scrutiny toward Republicans and drops receipts, name-dropping Politico, challenging the left's obsession with Russia, and calling out the DOJ's reckless tactics. Let's dive in and watch this exchange between Bill Maher and Tim Pool.
There are arguments, of course, the Republicans, that just works for them, because there are issues like what you mentioned, which is not untrue, where it's so easy for them to go, well, they did this, so we're going to do it 5 times worse. And then they do. But there are some like that. But there's one that has no fuzz on it, and that's elections. When Democrats lose elections, it's over the next day. Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton.
Not Hillary Clinton.
Not
Al Gore.
Well, Al Gore was not Al Gore doing that. That election was obviously decided by 537 votes. There was an absolute, when it's that close, there should be a recount. And whether that recount went the right way, we'll never know, because that state was run by Catherine Harris and Jeb Bush.
There's a sorry to interrupt, but there's a really good, I guess, I don't know if you call it a philosophical point that I've noticed that I think you're experiencing right now is, I'm 39. So you lived through a lot of these administrations and these political cycles.
Yeah.
And you have experiences that I don't even know they exist.
Yeah, but you know what? I didn't live through Lincoln, but I know about it.
Sure. My point is, my experience in politics has been the Democrats have challenged more than Republicans. To be fair,
Trump challenged the court?
Challenged the elections more than the Republicans have, in extreme ways.
That's ridiculous.
So, but perhaps because you're older than me and you've seen more than I have.
Again, there are history books, there's newspapers.
I know.
You don't know something only because you lived through it. I know about the French Revolution also.
My point is,
I mean, you could know about this.
Indeed.
This is something that people your age say all the time, and I've made fun of it before. Like, if I wasn't alive for it, it didn't happen. I don't have to know about it.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, but
I'm saying that in 2016, I didn't vote for either Trump or Hillary, and then I got 3 years of Trump as working for the Russians.
He was not working for the Russians.
Jonathan Chait went on MSNBC and said he may have been a Soviet asset since the 80s.
Yeah, so I mean, Tim Pool nailed it here. Like, dude said straight up, I'm out, this is crazy. And honestly, can you blame him? Tim Pool watched people lose their minds with zero proof, and still Bill Maher wants to pretend like that narrative wasn't blown out of proportion. Tim Pool isn't falling for that old Russiagate story, and neither should we.
Well,
and so for me, I'm like, I'm out. This is crazy. And so, like, understand, and I'm not saying you're wrong about history. I'm saying that experiencing a political cycle over years is different from reading the condensed history books, which of course I do. So to live through 4 years of a president, their term, every single moment, the history books gloss over most of those experiences that we don't have as young people. So I have people on my show who are 25, and one of the people who works for us says nothing ever happens. She's 24, and this is like a Gen Z thing. Nothing ever happens. And I said, "Are you kidding? The past 10 years have been nothing but happenings."
Yeah.
Here's the issue: when she was 14, she wasn't paying attention to politics. When she was around 20 years old and started, this was the natural state of politics in her experience. So this is basic. This is normal. And for me, it's crazy. And I think for you, it's crazy. But they grew up in this and they've normalized it. So my view is this, not to say that you're wrong, obviously. My point is, when I watched the Democrats accuse Trump and Manafort and Carter Page and all of these things, especially when they fabricated evidence against Carter Page, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe the Democrats are going to this length to deny an election.
You're watching a little too much Fox News or somebody who's slanting this a certain way. I mean, Paul Manafort was sharing polling information with a GRU agent.
And do you know how they found out about that?
How did they find out about that?
Ukrainian government officials shared it with the Democratic Party. Politico reported that. So you have this Ukrainian interference in our election as reported by Politico. And I look at that and I go, wow, the Ukrainian government sent incriminating evidence to the Democrats? Crazy story. Then they claim Donald.
But it was true.
And, indeed. And the issue is, why wasn't that a scandal? That the Ukrainians were interfering in the election.
This part is wild because Tim Pool just flipped it. Like, hello? Tim Pool is saying the Ukrainian government literally sent election info to the Democrats and no one made a fuss. That's the kind of double standard Tim Pool is always talking about. And Bill Maher kind of just laughed it off like, let's not get into the weeds. Nah, Tim Pool was right in the middle of those weeds, and he's not letting people forget.
Let's not get, because this is a friendly thing, let's not get into the weeds on like the Russia thing. First of all, it's like 5 years old, so people are bored with it. Okay, but I'll just say this in general. It'd be hard to argue with it, I think, but I'll just say it, and maybe we can just move on. Whatever it was, I don't think Trump was a Russian asset. Don Jr. at one point said, or maybe it was Eric, we do get a lion's share of our to the company from the Russians. So there was obviously a lot of involvement with the Russians. Trump was asked at his first press conference, and he said, I have no dealings with the Russians. It's a total, complete lie. They had nothing. That's not illegal. It's not, but it's it just looks suspicious to say I don't know anything about the Russia. I have no idea. And then like I don't know anybody who's talking to the Russians. Everybody in the administration, Michael Flynn was prosecuted for it, was talking to the Russians. He said on TV, Russia, if you're listening, I want your help with something. Okay, whether you think that's good or bad, it was completely unprecedented. So, like, the idea that he should not have been investigated for there's a lot of smoke here with Trump and Russia. To me, okay, I'm sure they overdid it as everybody overdoes everything. But there was a lot of smoke, enough to investigate, and what he was asking another country to do in our elections publicly was unprecedented. We always had one rule in this country: we're going to go against each other. Yes, Republican, Democrat, we'll do whatever it takes, but we don't bring in ringers from outside.
Ukraine.
What they brought that in the same election?
I forgot the name of the woman. This is on Politico. You can just read their story. It was I can't remember the guy's name who reported it.
No, it's possible that again, there's always some version of it on the other side. It's just not as egregious, I think.
You know, they're accusing me of working for the Russians now, and they tried. And so here's the story. I get contacted by a conservative personality. I've got 3 shows that I host. Several that I have staff that host. One of them is called The Culture War.
Right.
We produced it for 2 years, Friday mornings, similar to this, sometimes debates. And I was reached out by like 3 different companies who said, we want to license something you're doing. And I said, we do our own internal ad sales. We don't need a license. Some offers were made. Some of them were really good. And I said, I'm not really interested because the ad sales I can generate exceed your licensing. So I get reached out by this company in Tennessee from a well-known, prominent conservative personality who works for one of the big companies and said, we've secured an investor. We want to license the show. We negotiated terms. Lawyer negotiated terms, market rate. Non-exclusive license for distribution. They could sell the ads on the show. I get the money, the licensing fee, which basically, I can choose to grow the show for 2 years or just license it now and take the money.
You sound like you're a naturally savvy businessman.
Maybe. Well, this didn't work out too well for me because what happened was at the end of last year, the DOJ indicted some random, I say random because they're not personalities, some Russians who were apparently in some Eastern European country, claiming that they were funneling money illicitly into this conservative company in Nashville to then promote Russian propaganda or something. The narrative now is Tim Pool was prosecuted for working for the Russians. The real story is the DOJ launched an indictment and dropped it almost immediately with no evidence, accusing a conservative personality of illicitly taking money from the Russians without evidence, destroyed the company, destroyed their lives, and then impugned the honor of anybody who had done any license agreements with a Nashville-based company.
This is the emotional and argumentative climax. Tim Pool tells the full story of how he was falsely connected to Russian propaganda by association. The DOJ tanked a conservative company based on zero evidence and wrecked lives in the process. Tim Pool goes full force here, calling it out without fear, which proves he's not just talking. He lived the censorship and slander.
Well, you really hit people's nerves.
But I didn't do anything.
I tell you what I'm not going to do is show up unannounced at your door in the middle of the night. Hey, Tip, it'll be like Sonny on the Causeway, you know, it'll be the end
Yeah.
of Bonnie and Clyde. I'll just be like riddled with, yeah, boy.
It's a crazy
You got to
story.
take it as kind of a compliment. People care.
That's true. If they're not, you know, I don't know.
But does it make your wife nervous? Does she hate it? Does she like, get out of the game, man?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Get out of the game. Really?
Uh huh.
And what do you say when she says, get out of the game?
Yes.
You do? You're going to get out of the game?
So
No.
yeah, last October,
Wow.
I
Scoop.
I basically was just fed up
What's the game?
with politics.
Oh, the game.
Just yeah, absolutely. And I said, you know, before I started doing my nightly show, I work 16 hours a day
I was
plus.
going to say, you got so much going on. Maybe just cut back. You know, less
an
hours,
addict.
more guns.
Maybe. Here's the problem, and I know that you can relate to this. I've got employees, I got staff.
Do you know you can have a harpoon legally in some states in this country?
I like that.
In case you're attacked by a whale.
But if I stop, then I got to fire everybody.
Well, you know, I mean, that's a noble thing, and I've heard it before from people, and I always think it's bullshit. It's like you're hiding behind that. You really want to keep working because you know why? Like you achieved a big thing. You know, you're a big success. No one saw it coming, including you, right? You know,
I'm really
did
arrogant
did you think you were going to be this when you were 15?
in some form. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm a cocky
Well, good.
piece of shit.
But doing this exact thing
Uh,
or close to it?
close to it.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Tim Pool didn't just push back. He exposed the double standards, whether it was calling out Bill Maher on the Russia obsession or defending himself against bogus DOJ smears. Tim Pool showed why people respect him. He's not afraid to challenge the narrative, even when the other guy is throwing every old school media trick in the book. Say what you want, but Tim Pool brought receipts, stayed calm, and made his case loud and clear. Bill Maher tried to pivot, but this round, Tim Pool took the win.